There's a moment, quiet and invisible, a fissure in the fabric of a conversation or a relationship, when someone questions you, doubts you, calls you out. It is a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the atmospheric pressure of a room. In that instant, driven by a primal urge for coherence and acceptance, you instinctively throw away your power trying to explain. You grasp for words, for clarity, for moral absolution. You say, "That's not what I meant. You misunderstood me. I swear I'm not like that." You believe you are defending your character, your integrity, your truth. But Machiavelli would smirk. He would see through the fragile performance to the profound surrender happening beneath. Because in that very instant, you did not defend yourself. You confessed. You confessed that their opinion, their perception, their fleeting judgment defines you. You handed them the gavel and knelt before their self-appointed bench. That is how power dies. Not in a grand, dramatic battle with clashing steel and shouted defiance, but in a whisper and a frantic, self-effacing explanation. The second you justify yourself, you hand them the frame, you give them the weapon, and they do not see a victim pleading for understanding. They see blood in the water, a sign of vulnerability, and the predator within stirs. The strong do not explain. They let silence do the talking. They understand that silence is judgment disguised as control, a verdict delivered without a spoken word. And that is the first and most fundamental law of perception. He who explains submits. He who remains still rules. Remember this. Let it be etched into your strategic consciousness. The moment you explain yourself, you have already surrendered the crown. They call explaining yourself a socially acceptable, even encouraged, act of emotional and intellectual housekeeping. But Machiavelli called it what it truly is. Self-sabotage wearing a saint's face, a masquerade of virtue that cloaks a profound act of self-betrayal. Every time you rush to prove your intentions, to clarify your motives, to demonstrate your purity, you kneel to perception. You abdicate your throne as the author of your own story and become a mere character, a supplicant in someone else's narrative, begging for correction, for a revised edit that paints you in a better light. Think about it with cold, detached precision. Someone twists your words, spinning them into a weapon you never forged. Someone misreads your silence, interpreting your composure as guilt or arrogance. Someone whispers your name in a tone that poisons a room, and the venom seeps into the ears of all who hear it. And what do? You panic. This is the critical failure point. The limbic system overrides the prefrontal cortex, and the ancient fear of exile triggers a fight-or-flight response manifested as verbal diarrhea. You defend. You plead, "Wait, that's not true. I didn't mean it like that." But the moment you explain, you give them exactly what they wanted. Your reaction, your energy, your attention. Reaction is currency in the economy of influence. Your frantic response proves they have successfully entered your frame, that they have managed to get under your skin. It proves they matter. Their opinion holds such weight that it can destabilize your entire emotional and psychological state. And once they know that they own you, that they can pull your strings with mere accusation, the game is over. Machiavelli warned of this precise dynamic. The man who defends himself lowers himself. He saw a brutal, unvarnished truth that polite society obscures. Defending does not restore your image. It cements your weakness. It paints a picture of insecurity. The more you talk, the less they listen, their minds already made up. The more you justify, the more guilty you appear. Your words become the rope that binds you. The crowd. Oh, the crowd never side with the one explaining. They are drawn, like iron to a magnet, to the one who looks untouched, unfazed, the calm eye of the storm. Perception is not built on logic, evidence, or factual truth. It is built on aura, on what you seem to feel, not what you can prove. You can be factually right and still appear desperate. You can be morally innocent and still look strategically weak. In the highs-takes game of perception, truth is optional, a secondary concern. Control is everything. So, when someone attacks your name, seeks to stain your reputation, do not rush to clean the mark. This is the instinct of the feeble, to immediately scrub away any blemish. Instead, let it sit. Let them watch it. Let the alleged stain remain in public view until the observers, the jury of your peers, begin to doubt its very existence. They will watch you, this accused person, carrying on with unshaken composure, and they will start to question the validity of the mark itself. The greatest trick in psychological warfare is not to convince others you are good, but to make them question whether they ever understood you at all. Silence forces thought, and thinking, when directed by your stillness, breeds fear and uncertainty in your adversary. People can handle argument. They are prepared for it, armed with counter-arguments and righteous indignation. They cannot handle uncertainty. They cannot function within a vacuum of your making. That is why the Machiavellian does not fight noise with more noise. He watches. He slows the tempo of the interaction to a glacial pace. He lets the accuser speak longer than they should, until their tone betrays them, until their emotion reveals their instability, until they hang themselves at the rope of their own verbosity. Next time someone calls you out, do not defend. Do not explain. Pause. Let their words hang in the air like thick, acrid smoke, allowing everyone to breathe it in and feel its toxicity. 3 seconds of deliberate, calculated silence will tell the room more about you, your poise, and your power than 3 hours of frantic, detailed justification ever could. When you stay still, you force them to feel the weight of their own voice. They will instinctively fill the silence you create with more words, with qualifiers, with repetitions. And the more they talk, the weaker, the more unhinged they sound. That is the insidious trap of defense. You think you are saving your image, but you are feeding the fire of your own destruction. The strong never rush to be understood. They let mystery become their shield, their armor. Once you stop needing to be clear, to be transparent, to be an open book, you begin to be feared, to be respected, to be reckoned with. Remember this fundamental axiom. You do not lose power when they speak. You lose power when you answer, when you validate their attack with your response. And when explanation fails you, when you have transcended the need for it, there is a darker, more elegant move. One that does not just absorb the attack, but turns the accusation back onto its maker, redirecting its energy with the precision of a master martial artist. He called it mirror the accuser. This is the art of making your enemy choke on their own intent, of holding up a polished surface in which they see not your reflection, but the distorted image of their own motives. Machiavelli once said, "Never fight the fog, let them choke on it." This is a masterstroke of strategic metaphor. When someone attacks you, they are rarely, if ever, seeking truth. They are seeking a reaction. They throw emotional smoke, a fog of confusion, indignation, and accusation to blind you, hoping you will stumble in the obscurity, explain yourself, and in doing so, expose your vulnerabilities. But the Machiavellian does not fight the fog. He holds perfectly still within it and lets his enemy, disoriented by his lack of movement, get lost inside it, because every accusation, every insult, reveals more about the accuser than the accused. Their words are mirrors of their own insecurities, their own fears, their own unresolved pathologies. If you know how to use them, how to angle the glass, imagine this common scenario. Someone looks you in the eye, their gaze laden with false concern or thinly veiled hostility, and says, "You've changed. You're not as humble as you used to be." This is a classic power play, designed to trigger a nostalgia for a weaker, more malleable version of yourself. Most people panic. They rush to prove their purity, their unchanging core. They say, "No, I'm still the same person. You're misunderstanding me." And right there, in that desperate plea, they step into the trap. They accept the frame that they are on trial, that their value is being assessed. But the Machiavellian smiles, almost kindly, and replies with a tone of detached observation. Interesting. Growth tends to make some people uncomfortable. The battlefield shifts instantaneously. You did not defend. You did not explain. You reflected. In one succinct sentence, you turned their accusation into a confession of their own inability to handle your evolution. You reframed your arrogance as their discomfort. When you mirror, you do not fight emotion with emotion. You send it back to its source, unaltered and now self-aware. Machiavelli understood this immutable law of perception. Whoever controls the frame controls the mind. The frame is the narrative context, the lens through which events are interpreted. When you mirror, you seize the frame. You dismantle their stage and build your own. You make them face their own insecurity, their own pettiness. They say you are arrogant. Let them taste their discomfort with confidence. They say you're manipulative. Let them confront why control and influence threaten them so much. Mirroring is not a defense. It is an exposure. It forces the attacker to meet the weakness, the insecurity, the fear that birthed their accusation in the first place. Because people do not accuse from a place of objective truth. They accuse from projection, from the shadows of their own psyche that they project onto you. Watch what happens next time someone insults you in a public forum. You say nothing at first. You tilt your head slightly, as if studying a curious insect. You let a slow, amused breath escape, a sigh that conveys not anger, but pity. And then you calmly state, confidence tends to bother people who've lost theirs. You did not raise your voice. You did not explain your actions. Yet the room freezes. The crowd feels a seismic shift. The energy has turned irrevocably. The accuser shrinks, their bravado deflating. They look for allies, for supportive glances. But no one stands beside a person who has just been psychologically unmasked. Your stillness becomes judgment. Your calmness becomes control. Next time you are attacked, do not react. Do not rush to win the point. Just mirror. Speak slowly. Hold their gaze longer than they can comfortably stand. Watch them unravel beneath the weight of their own words. That is the Machiavellian method to make emotions self-destruct. You do not defeat your enemy through direct confrontation. You let their own energy collapse inward upon itself until they mistake the sound their fall for your silence. Machiavelli knew that the wise man does not resist emotion. He redirects it, using its momentum against its source. And when you can redirect emotion, you no longer need to dominate through force. You simply redefine the field upon which the conflict occurs. But reflection, for all its potency, is only the beginning. Machiavelli's next law is colder, more foundational. It is the art of controlling the very stage where truth performs, of being the playwright and the director, not just an actor. It is called control the frame. The world does not move by objective truth. It moves by frames. Not by what actually happened, but by who defines what happened, who gets to narrate the event. Machiavelli understood the psychological reality before anyone else codified it. He wrote, "Perception is a reality. It creates reality. Because people do not see the world as it is. They see the world as described by whoever is calm enough, authoritative enough, to describe it first. Think of every significant conflict you have ever had, personal or professional. The person who ultimately won was not necessarily the one with the most facts, but the one who successfully said, 'Here's what's really going on.' They were not explaining, they were framing. They were not proving truth. They were building the stage, setting the scenery, and directing the lights upon which truth would perform. When you react emotionally, you step onto someone else's stage. You accept their script. When you explain, you confirm their authority to question you, to put you on trial. And once they hold that authority, they do not even need to be right. They just need you to respond, to dance to their tune. That is the secret core of psychological dominance. It is not about having louder voices or better arguments. It is about a slower, more controlled rhythm, because he who sets the rhythm sets the room. He dictates the pace, the tone, the very heartbeat of the interaction. Imagine this corporate scene, a high-stakes meeting. A colleague, seeking to undermine you, says with full concern, "Your idea seems too risky." The average person, feeling the pressure, leans forward, their body language betraying their defensiveness. They start explaining the risk-reward ratio, the mitigating factors, the potential upsides. And in that very instant, the entire room's perception shifts. The accuser owns a frame. The question is now about your risk, and you are on the back foot, trying to prove it is acceptable. But the Machiavellian, he does the opposite. He leans back, a picture of relaxation. He pauses, letting the accusation dissipate. He lets silence stretch, making the colleague's statement seem hasty, unconsidered. Then he says quietly, almost to himself, "Maybe." He then adds, "But history was never written by the cautious." The frame explodes and reassembles around him. Now, The question is no longer whether the idea is risky. The new, far more powerful question is whether the others in the room dare to think small, to be on the side of those who never make a mark. You did not argue. You reframed. You shifted the context from risk versus safety to courage versus mediocrity. And now the room, psychologically, works for you. Machiavelli taught, power doesn't belong to the one who shouts, but to the one who defines what the shouting means. Frame is invisible, but it bends everything that is visible. Tone, respect, emotion, loyalty. Once you own the frame, you no longer need to fight petty battles. You just decide what the fighting means, what the stakes are, what constitutes victory. Next time you are attacked, do not waste your energy explaining. Just change the question. Shift the frame. Because when you change the frame, you change with permission to speak, who is granted legitimacy. Here's the great paradox of influence. You cannot directly control people, but you can control how they see a situation, how they perceive you. And when you control how they see, you do not need to control them. They will unconsciously shape themselves, their opinions, and their actions to fit the image you have projected. The frame is psychological gravity. It pulls everyone into its orbit. And the stronger your stillness, the heavier your pull, the more potent your gravitational field. That is why true Machiavellians do not fight for clarity. They fight for definition. Not what is objectively true, but whose truth are we living in? When you hold the frame, even your silence becomes a declaration. Even a glance can command. And when they realize you are not reacting to their chaos, they start reacting to your calm. At that point, you have crossed the line from mere influence to undeniable presence. But Machiavelli knew that holding the frame was not always enough, for words still risk noise. Even the most perfectly constructed frame can shatter under a torrent of raw, uncontrolled emotion. So he learned and taught a colder art, a weapon that outlasts every argument and weathers every emotional storm. He called it the power of silence, because silence is not the absence of control. It is control at its purest, most concentrated form. Let us step into its profound depths. Silence, a state most people fear, because in silence they are finally forced to meet themselves without distraction. From the moment you were born, the world has taught you to fill every pause, to explain, to respond, to keep the noise alive, to constantly signal your existence. Because in noise, people feel safe, connected, validated. But Machiavelli understood the inverse. The one who can sit in profound silence, who can endure and even cultivate the vacuum, controls the room. In every confrontation, observe carefully. The louder one speaks, the less control he truly has. He is performing for comfort, not commanding genuine attention. The quiet one does not chase the stage. He becomes it. His very being is the platform, because silence shifts the gravity of perception. When you do not react, others begin to hear their own echo. They start replaying what they just said, wondering if they went too far, if they sounded foolish, if they revealed too much. You did not defend yourself. You let their own conscience, their own self-doubt, do the work for you. That is the hidden, brilliant mechanics of Machiavellian silence. You force others to carry the full, unmitigated weight of their own noise. Imagine the scenario. You are in a meeting, presenting your findings. A rival, feeling threatened, sneers across the table. What? Do you think you're smarter than everyone else? Every eye in the room turns to you. The tension becomes thick as smoke. Most people would panic. They would explain, "No, of course not," laugh it off awkwardly, or fight back with sharp retort. You do none of these things. You look up slowly. Your expression remains still, unreadable. You hold the silence for 3 seconds. 5, 10. The discomfort in the room becomes palpable. Then you speak, your voice cold and quiet, if that's what you see. And then you return to silence. You let the silence expand, stretch, and ultimately swallow the question itself, rendering it petty and insignificant. That moment is not weakness. It is control in its purest, most undiluted form, because now the silence is not empty. It is theirs. They must fill it. They must justify it. They must live inside the awkwardness they created. Machiavelli would call this psychological suffocation. You take away their oxygen. which is your attention and your reaction, and you watch them choke on their own desperate need for validation. People can handle insult, they can handle anger, but they cannot handle profound, deliberate indifference. And this strategic indifference is what kings are made of. Next time someone attacks you, try this weapon of silence. Count to 3 in the void you create. Let them drown in the echo of their own words. Because silence does not just protect you, it reverses a hunt. It turns the predator into the prey, forcing them to stalk their own shadows. In a world saturated with noise, with hot takes and constant communication, silence is a luxury, and those who can afford it, who can reside within it, appear powerful beyond measure, because your silence communicates a devastating message. I do not need your validation. I do not need your reaction. I do not even need this particular moment. And that realization terrifies people, because it means you live above their emotional weather in a climate of your own making. The crowd may not intellectually understand why you seem so preternaturally calm, but they will feel in their bones. They will lower their voices when you finally speak. They will unconsciously mirror your tempo. They will submit to your authority without ever realizing it. That is the great paradox of power. You do not dominate by speaking louder than everyone else. You dominate by controlling what follows your words, and more importantly, your non-words. And once you have mastered silence, once you can wield it like a sculptor wields a chisel, the next law reveals itself. It is the art of controlling not just what happens, but when it happens. Because in Machiavelli's world, time itself is the final, most sophisticated instrument of control. The strong do not rush. They orchestrate. They slow down the storm until it dances to their rhythm. And that rhythm, that mastery of tempo, is where true, unassailable power begins. Let us enter its domain. Power is not speed. It is rhythm. The strong do not rush. They consciously choose when things move, when to speak, when to act, when to strike. Machiavelli wrote, "He who controls the tempo controls the outcome." In the war of perception, timing is the sharpest, most precise blade. Watch any argument unfold. When a person grows emotional, their voice accelerates. Their words begin to repeat. They lose precision and clarity. They think their passion is winning the day. But with every hurried word, every rushed sentence, they bleed control. The Machiavellian does not chase that frantic tempo. He slows it down. He forces the other person to feel the silence between their own sentences, to sit in the awkward space between their points. He wins not by speaking more eloquently, but by deciding unilaterally when everyone speaks. Think of tempo as an invisible form of gravity. When you move and speak with deliberate slowness, you pull others into your orbit. They start breathing at your rhythm. Their heart rates subside to match your calm. Humans are, at a fundamental level, slaves to energy, and energy follows tempo. You have seen this phenomenon in action. A room in chaos, filled with shouting and agitation. One calm person enters. He does not shout for order. He does not demand silence. He simply exists within his own field of stillness. Within minutes, the noise drops. People begin to mirror his pace, his demeanor. He is not reacting to the chaos. He is conducting it. That is Machiavellian control in its essence. Not louder, but slower. Machiavelli knew what the modern, hyperstimulated mind had forgotten. People do not follow logic in emotional situations. They follow pulse. They are drawn to the dominant emotional frequency. Whoever sets the emotional pulse rules the interaction. So, in any conflict, the cardinal rule is to never match their speed. If they rush, you pause. If they shout, you whisper. If they hurl an accusation, you delay your response. Your deliberate delay becomes a form of dominance. Because when you are the one who decides a moment to answer, you own the flow of reality itself. You are the gatekeeper of time. Next time someone pushes your buttons, seeking to trigger you, do not push back. Let 3 full seconds pass, a lifetime in social interaction, and then move slower than they could possibly expect. Speak more deliberately. You will feel the shift palpably. Their tempo will collapse into yours. Their frantic energy will dissipate against the wall of your composure. Tempo control is a form of psychological hypnosis. You are not just speaking words. You are programming a rhythm. Each pause becomes a nonverbal command. Each measured breath becomes a signal of your unshakable control. That is why kings, great generals, and master manipulators throughout history all move in the same way. Deliberate, measured, untouchable. When others rush to fix chaos, you wait. Your waiting creates tension, and tension makes people reveal their true selves. In those extra seconds of silence you impose, they show you who they really are, their fears, their impatience, their guilt, their insecurity. And you remain still, watching their emotions betray them one heartbeat at a time. Tempo is the art of invisible dominance. It turns silence into an active strategy, stillness into a form of intimidation. You are not avoiding reaction. You are making them chase it, making them yearn for it. When people cannot predict your rhythm, they are forced to pay attention to it. And in doing so, they begin to dance to it. And when they dance to your rhythm, you own their psychology. Machiavelli warned, never let others set the speed of your decisions. The fast become desperate. The slow become divine. Once you control tempo, once you can slow the world around you to a pace of your choosing, a new kind of power awakens within you. You no longer feel the need to defend, to explain, to react. You begin to use the energy of others against them. The next law is crueler, more surgical. It is how to turn their insults into your weapons. Because in the end, you do not block the blade. You step aside and let them fall upon it. Machiavelli once said, do not meet the sword with a shield. Let the attacker fall on his own blade. That is the essence of turning insults into weapons. Every insult they throw is pure energy. Every accusation is, at its core, a confession in disguise. Your task is simple, yet requires immense discipline. Redirect it. Do not absorb it. Let us make it concrete. Someone says to you, in a tone of accusation, you're too arrogant. The average person immediately denies it. They explain why they are not arrogant. They defend their humility. The Machiavellian, however, he simply smiles a faint, knowing curve of the lips and says calmly, strange. Confidence has a way of making some people uncomfortable. It is not a defense. It is a reflection. You have just turned their insecurity into an exposure of their own limitations. Their weapon is now pointing directly back at them. They call you manipulative. Do not argue. Do not protest your innocence. Simply say, only people who can't be influenced call everything manipulation. Then stop. Let the silence you leave behind finish the job. The more they try to explain their position, to clarify their accusation, the more unstable, the more defensive they sound. The crowd, the observers, begin to notice the imbalance. You did not fight, you reframed. And in the ruthless game of power, the one who successfully reframes the conflict rules the narrative. People reveal their deepest selves when they think they are revealing you. When they call you cold, they are confessing how much they need external warmth and validation. When they call you distant, they are confessing how much they crave your attention. When they call you selfish, they are confessing how much they want to control your resources, your time, your energy. You do not need to say this aloud. You simply let their own words, hanging in the silence you provide, echo back to them and everyone listening. Your silence becomes a mirror they cannot escape, the mirror that shows them their own reflection. Remember, an insult is never about objective truth. It is a test of your frame, your composure. They want to see if you will flinch, if you will explain, if you will emotionally collapse. When you do not, when you remain a placid lake undisturbed by their thrown stone, they discover something truly terrifying. They have no power over you. That realization that they cannot affect your inner state is what ultimately breaks them. Next time someone insults you, do not rush to fix the situation, to correct the record. Pause, breathe deeply, allow a small, amused smile to play on your lips, and then quietly, almost indifferently offer, if that's how you see it, one sentence. This is psychological judo. It ends a fight without you ever throwing a punch. They wanted to drag you into their emotional gravity, to get you spinning in their orbit of drama. You simply refuse to enter their atmosphere. They lose their oxygen, their purpose. They spiral. They overtalk. They overexplain. The crowd watches them unravel, their composure disintegrating. while you remain still, a monument to self-possession. That is how you win without ever lifting a finger. Machiavelli called this the turn of the blade. You never block the attack. You redirect its force and let it return to its source. Every word you consciously choose not to say becomes a mirror. Every silence you strategically hold becomes a counterstrike. The most elegant form of revenge is unshakable composure. The most brutal punishment you can inflict is profound indifference. When you master this art, your enemies will eventually stop attacking you. Not because you fought back and defeated them, but because they learned something darker, more disheartening. You do not play defense. You do not even play their game. You let them destroy themselves in a futile attempt to reach you, to provoke you, to matter to you. But there is one move colder, still quieter, and in the long term, deadlier. It is not silence, nor is it restraint. It is psychological disappearance. The art of vanishing on purpose, of becoming a ghost in your own story. When presence loses its tactical power, strategic absence becomes the ultimate weapon. Machiavelli taught that the most terrifying form of power is not found in direct confrontation, but in calculated absence. He called it the disappearance. This is not the silence you hold while being watched. This is the silence you leave behind when you walk away, when you remove your presence entirely. Presence, when constant and predictable, makes people comfortable. They know where you are, how you will react. Absence, on the other hand, makes them question. It creates a vacuum in their reality. When you disappear psychologically, whether by not responding to messages, by leaving a conversation, by physically removing yourself from an environment, you create a void. And the human mind has a deep, abhorrent hatred for emptiness. So it rushes to fill that void, and it fills it with obsession. They start to wonder, where are you? Why haven't you replied? What are you planning? Did I go too far? Are they angry? Are they plotting? They may tell themselves they are punishing you with distance, but in reality, you are the one writing the narrative from offstage, and they are trapped inside the theater of their own making, performing for an empty seat. Psychological disappearance is not retreat. It is dominance in its most sophisticated disguise. You are not running away. You are removing the oxygen from a room. You stop feeding them your energy, your reactions, your presence, your attention, and suddenly, they are left utterly alone with their own echo. The echo of what they said, of what they did, of what you did not reply to. That echo, that relentless internal monologue, is what truly breaks people. You have seen this dynamic in the digital age. You stop responding to a provocative message, and within hours, they start sending longer ones, explanations, apologies, excuses, then angry follow-ups. They are talking to themselves, pretending to talk to you. That is the raw power of absence. It turns every one of their thoughts into a mirror, and every mirror into their own punishment. Machiavelli wrote, "Absence sharpens respect. Presence cheapens it." The weak crave to be seen, to be validated by the gaze of others. The powerful make being seen a privilege, a reward they grant sparingly. When you appear everywhere, constantly available, you lose psychological weight. You become common. When you vanish, when you become scarce, every trace of you, every memory, becomes heavier than your presence ever was. People start defending you in your absence, inventing reasons for your silence, building your legend without your input. You say nothing. Yet, paradoxically, you are all they talk about, all they think about. Next time someone tries to control you, to bait you into a reaction, do not react. Do not explain. Disappear. Pull your energy, your attention, your digital presence, your conversational presence completely back. Let the silence you create echo in the space you once occupied. Watch them crumble under the weight of their own noise, their own need for closure. Absence is not weakness. It is the coldest, most calculated strategy. You make the enemy swing its shadows, fight against their own guilt, their own imagination. Because what truly haunts the human mind is not rejection, it is uncertainty. You did not tell them they were wrong. You did not tell them anything. So, they are forced to invent the answer themselves. And the story the human mind invents in the face of silence is always, without fail, worse than the truth. That is why the Machiavellian never chases closure. He becomes closure itself. He is the unanswered question. When you vanish, you end the game on your own terms. They keep replaying the scene in their mind, begging for a reply, a resolution that never comes. And the longer you stay silent, the louder, the more monumental you grow in their head. That is psychological disappearance. The R becoming unforgettable by strategically no longer being there. But Machiavelli knew that disappearance was not the final endgame, because even when you're physically or psychologically gone, your shadow remains. And if you learn to command that shadow, to cultivate it, you can turn it into something far greater. An aura, a presence so powerful that even in your absence, the room still feels you, your influence lingering like a scent. They thought power was loud, bombastic, and obvious. They were wrong. Real power is silent, subtle, and atmospheric. It walks into a room before you do. It makes people lower their voices without knowing why. That is aura. Machiavelli called it la presenza, the presence that commands without speaking, that influences without effort. It cannot be faked. It cannot be forced. It is built layer by layer, moment by moment, decision by decision. Every time you choose silence over a petty reaction, a piece of your aura is born in the fire of your restraint. Each time you do not defend yourself against a minor slight, each time you do not explain a misunderstood action, each time you stay perfectly still while chaos screams around you, you forge another layer of this impenetrable presence. Most people speak to fill space, afraid of the void. You learn to leave space, to embrace the void, and that very space becomes your gravity. People lean in. They watch you more closely. They find they cannot look away because the human mind is inherently fearful of the unknown, the unexplained. And you, by saying less, by revealing less, become the unknown. You become a puzzle they feel compelled to solve, but never can. Aura is not the same as confidence. Confidence still seeks validation. It wants to be confirmed. Aura does not care for external validation. It is self-validating. Confidence wants to be seen and acknowledged. Aura demands to be felt, to be experienced on a visceral level. It is not a mask you wear. It is an atmosphere you emit, a change in the psychic weather. People feel it in your posture, in your eyes, in your preternatural calm. It is a kind of energy that silently communicates. I know who I am, and I do not need you to agree. That unspoken certainty is what bends reality around you. Next time you walk into a room, a meeting, a social gathering, say nothing for first 10 seconds. Do not rush to greet everyone. Simply stand still, look around, observe, let the silence breathe around you. You will notice it, a subtle but definite shift in the air. That is not your imagination. That is your presence, your aura asserting itself, establishing the gravitational field. Machiavelli understood this deeply. The man with a cultivated aura does not need to prove he is powerful. He makes others feel powerless, or at least off balance, simply through his unshakable calm. Aura is not about being universally admired. It is about being measured, being assessed with a hint of wariness. People measure every word they say to you, every gesture they make in your direction. You have become a mirror of their own projections. They fear disappointing you. They crave a crumb of your attention. And yet, you give almost none. That is control, not through domination, but through definition. You define the emotional temperature of any space you enter. Aura, once established, protects you. When your energy is solid, consistent, and unreadable, rumors lose their aim. They have nothing to stick to. Insults dissolve before they even reach you, because people do not attack what they cannot read, what they cannot predict. They hesitate. They whisper among themselves. They wonder about your true motives and capabilities. And that hesitation, that moment of doubt, is your most effective shield. To build an aura, you do not need gregarious charisma. You need ironclad consistency. Say little, but when you do speak, ensure your words have weight. Do exactly what you say you will do. Disappear when strategically necessary. Return with impeccable timing. Never chase validation, and never break your silence unless doing so adds to your power, to the mystery. Every single act of restraint, every mastered impulse, adds another invisible layer to your presence until one day you realize something truly chilling. You no longer just walk into a room. You enter like a natural law, an inevitability. Aura is when your very name, mentioned in a conversation, creates a moment of silence. It is when your eyes can end a conversation without a word. It is when your calm feels like the highest form of authority. It is no longer a power you consciously use. It is a power that you simply are. You have become the atmosphere itself. But Machiavelli wisely warned that aura must be vigilantly protected. For the louder and more chaotic the world becomes, the easier it is to lose your center, to be pulled back into the reactive fray. To maintain your aura, to keep your crown, you must master the final, most advanced form of control, emotional immunity, the ability to remain truly untouched. Not by words, not by praise, not by pain or betrayal. That is the crown of silence, the untouchable mind. Now we enter the final law, where silence no longer just protects you. It transforms you into something beyond reach, beyond provocation. Machiavelli once wrote, "The strongest man is not the one who fights emotion, but the one who no longer reacts to it." That is the state of emotional immunity. It is not numbness, nor is it the suppression of feeling. It is power, the kind of profound power that comes when nothing and no one outside of you can move what is solid and settled inside of you. Look at the world today.